Hello everyone, it is a privilege to have Dr. Ravi Shankar here with us today. He's an expert in supply chain management and total quality management. Without any further ado, let's dig into the conversation. So, to start with the discussion, we would want to know what supply chain management exactly is. What is the purpose of supply chain management?
Actually, supply chain management is a very important discipline in which the main purpose is to ensure that demand and the supply they match as much as possible. The best supply chain would be one where the ever-changing demand meets with the supply. So if we can do that, their inventory will be less and service level will be high. So in other words, what we can say that the purpose of a supply chain is to have a very high service level at a low cost where the inventory is also less, and generally we call it lean supply chain.
Sir, clearly supply chain management is not a very new concept. So how has this evolved over the years?
Actually, supply chain is existing since so many years. For example, Taj Mahal was built. For that, the material was brought from different places and it was constructed in a very nice manner, decent manner as far as construction is concerned. So it was also a supply chain. We can call it construction supply chain. So this concept is very old, but it's formal is a formal discipline in the business schools. It has come up generally in 80s when we are talking about the source, make and deliver, three components of that. And each of these components like source, procurement, vendor development, vendor quota allocation, all these things are now dealt with in detail. How to generate the purchase order and what would be the best policy. And then make is the production side of it. And then deliver the distribution strategy, warehouse management, which could be combined with the cross-docking and meeting the service level. These are the things which have come up since 80s, and now it is much more functional in terms of the use of technologies. So a lot of technologies are supporting that. A lot of new management concepts have come. So supply chain has evolved in a big way since past few years.
So thank you for your insight. We recently saw a lot of global discrepancies happening with COVID-19, the wars that have been going on. So what is the impact of all of these things on supply chain management at a global level?
This is an excellent question, and I think very contextual also. In the recent past, there are few incidences that I will narrate first as an example, and then I will explain the concept. See, what happened during the chip crisis a few years back. So there were microchips which were procured from Taiwan, Malaysia, and few other countries. So during the COVID time and slightly later to that, the chip supplies chain was disrupted. Now and also the war between Russia and Ukraine aggravated the problem, because of which we all saw a lot of problems in the industries where electronic chips are used. And it was very evident in the auto sector in our country. And globally also it affected, because now chips are used in the automobile for many parts and components. Now, because of the disruption of the chip supply, the whole auto sector suffered very badly. So this is one example. There are many other examples where, because of shortage of material, there are supply chains are disrupted. So global crisis in the COVID also, which happened because of a lot of disruptions took place in supply chain. The crisis was huge, and then how to manage that is a very specialized area, and the importance of supply chain managers really come up in a big way. I'll give you one or two examples during the COVID time. What really happened that there was oxygen supply which was needed from different places to our hospitals. And the traffic conditions were not very good. And then what really happened that oxygen tankers, they were loaded on the rail, and these tankers were offloaded at the destination. So this was the long travel of the oxygen tankers, and these tankers, once they were offloaded in a place, say for example Delhi, then local admin helped in the last mile delivery problem. For example, from the railway track to the different hospitals, the local people knew more about the requirements, and then it was transported there. So that crisis was really huge because oxygen supply was really very, very important for saving the human lives. And a good supply chain management, like multimodal transportation that I have just referred to, road, rail, then road. Now this is a good example that how supply chain need to be managed in a very integrated, coordinated and synchronized manner.
Yes, sir. We are all very proud of how India has come out of the whole COVID situation, and Indian supply chain management did play a very important role in how COVID-19 was managed by the country. So, moving forward, we have seen a switch of industrialization revolution as well, and AI and machine learning has become the new thing. How do you think that will impact supply chain management?
This is again a very interesting question. So AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, now these concepts were there with us for a long time. Now earlier it was mainly a computer science domain. Now in a supply chain, its applications are many, and these are really helping the supply chain to be very, very efficient. Now how come? Let us see some example. So there are many companies which are using AI ML for demand forecasting. So let me give a reason why this application is important. See, forecasting is the basis of majority of the supply chain plannings. Planning related to procurement, planning related to production, planning related to distribution. So we really need to know what is the demand at point of sale. Point of the sale is a time when the item would be handed over to the customer. So how would we know when we know this demand of POS, point of sale, at the time when we are doing the procurement? So this may be 6 months ahead of the point of sale. So the forecasting is one approach. Now when we are doing the forecasting, maybe 6 months ahead, a lot of things are very fuzzy or quite uncertain. For example, weather condition. For example, a competitor's strategy. For example, other factors related to the global crisis or whatever you mentioned a few minutes back. So humanly, it's not possible to integrate everything into a forecasting model. So we need a very comprehensive modeling. We need to consider a lot of other things. So other things related to economic conditions, weather conditions, and the changing pattern of the demand, customer preferences. So the AI ML is really helping in integrating all those. There are many social media or the tweets are there which are also useful. So natural language processing would be needed. So for that, now the Gen AI is also being used in the forecasting. This is one area. Other could be the inventory management, where AI ML is helping us to reduce the inventory or put the material exactly at the time where it is needed, exactly at the time when it is needed, exactly in the quantity in which it is needed, exactly at the price when it is needed. So all these things, which are the purposes of the supply chain, now AI ML is helping managers to take right type of decisions. So there are many other applications where AI ML is helping. For example, getting the customer response and responding to that with proper designs and proper production and delivery.
So, with the help of this technology and different tools, how can small and medium-sized enterprises inculcate supply chain management in their functioning?
So this is a very great question. Actually, we think that a small and medium enterprise is something which is one not very important in the supply chain as compared with the big OEMs. That's not really the case. In fact, supply chain constitute SMEs, small and medium enterprises, big enterprises, distribution network, and many other players like distributors, retailers. So the whole chain is one for every product or every services. Even supply chain is for services also. So SMEs are as important as a big OEM. That's point number one. Second point that I would like to say, let's say for example, an SME is not professionally managed, and suppose there are delays, poor quality of the product or services, now that impacts the whole supply chain performance. A supply chain is as strong as its weakest link. That's a basic concept. So SMEs need to be equally strong. Now these technologies that we are talking, now they need to be deployed at SMEs level. What could be those technologies? Those technologies could be, for example, 3D printing. Those technologies could be things like, say, for example, IoT, cloud computing, digital twin. So all these things need to be deployed. And an interesting point that I have experienced working with a lot of industries, that many times it's difficult to justify the technology on the basis of ROI, return on investment, which every professional think. See, in fact, the return comes based on the timely availability of the information. So ROI is more than return on investment, is return on information also. So if we get right information at right point of time, and our supply chain is coordinated, and information is shared across the supply chain, a lot of issues are resolved easily. For example, there is a concept of bullwhip effect. The bullwhip effect takes place when there are information distortion. The demand variability increases as we move from downstream to the upstream of the supply chain. So somewhere in between there is a SME. Now, if they are not integrated in the supply chain through the technology and information sharing, the whole supply chain is going to suffer. So, it's important to mention here that we have to look for a strong SME which is integrated in the supply chain, and information is shared all across the supply chain for every planning purposes.
This is very new to us as well, and in fact, maybe this will be the next focus for our country's operations management as well. So you mentioned something about digital twin while you were answering this.
Yes.
What exactly is digital twin, and how does that impact supply chain management?
This is again a relatively recent intervention that are taking place in a supply chain, and many big companies are adopting this. So basically, I will explain it like this. So we have seen on the TV, they are twin sisters. They look alike. Faces are same. They are born almost at the same time, and their behavior pattern is also same. So we have seen in the movie also that if something happens to one twin brother, other brother is also behaving in a similar manner, maybe at a different place. So twins are also like that. Digital twin is also like that. So a digital twin could be a replica, virtual replica of a product or a system, like say warehouse. A product could be an FMCG product or a supply chain also. A combination of supply chain partners could be manufacturer, distributors, warehouses, transport management system, maybe supplier also. So we can create a virtual replica of all those physical entity, and if you can do that, this will typically be a digital twin. Now next thing is related to this, how is it effective and why should we do that? So this is done so that in the virtual digital twin of a physical system, we can experiment with different scenarios. We can simulate some of the things which can happen. For example, in one of your questions earlier, you talked about the disruption. So disruptions happen and then you respond to this. Now it's very difficult to manage. Now digital twin can simulate it much before. It can find all the alternatives and maybe a quick solutions are possible. Take for example, the shipment, transportation or the logistics network. When we are talking about it, say for example, on any of these routes, there is some disruption. Maybe because a bridge has collapsed or there is some problem on the locality. So we want to quickly change that and truck has already moved from source to the destination. So digital twin can calculate optimally that what is the best alternative route for this shipment. So this can be done in a very real-time mode. Another example could be of a similar type would be that suppose a truck is moving. So generally we aim for a full truck load so that economic of a scale comes. But while on the way, suppose there is an urgent shipment requirement, so the digital twin can simulate the whole pickup locations in the route from where it will reach at what point of time and how to pick up the load so that we can maximize the capacity of the truck from a source, say for example New Delhi, to a destination, say for example Pune. So what happens? Our system becomes efficient. We can take advantage of supply chain efficiency and also manage the supply chain better. Digital twin often is used for warehouse management, is used for manufacturing, it can be used for distribution. So huge potential exists for this. And as I mentioned to you, that every industry should really try to find opportunities where these things could be implemented. One more thing I would like to put it here, that these technologies, earlier we used to think that only technocrats or software can be developed by programmers, so computer science people. Now as things have evolved, now scenario has changed tremendously. For example, in an earlier question to your AI ML, when I was responding, I forgot to mention that generative AI, like ChatGPT and other things which have come, now if you give the problem, now the Python code or some of the software can be developed by these tools. So what does this mean? That these Python or programming is not only limited to computer science people. Even managers like many of us, we can do it through these technology platform. So we should not be afraid of these things, even if we are not perfectly trained in the coding and we are not professionally trained in the technology use. So many of these things are automated. They will help us in managing the supply chain. And the first question which you asked about the purpose of supply chain, demand should meet the supply at every point in the supply chain. Now that's the purpose. And these technologies like digital twin, like say for example 3D printing, like say for example IoT, now all these are basically enablers to achieve that objective of a supply chain, that we should have material at the right time, at the right place, in right quantity, in right quality, and at the right place.
Yes, sir. This whole conversation has been a full circle. We started with the scope of supply chain management and what supply chain management exactly is, and we again ended with the same topic. Thank you so much, sir. You have clearly given us food for thought, and it is our pleasure to have this conversation with you. Thank you, sir.